When I was heading to the airport for my business trip, my wife said, "It's going to be so hard not seeing you." The truth is, I never left the airport, and right now I'm watching my 12-year marriage collapse from a hotel room across from my house. She has no idea what her face will look like tomorrow morning. My name is Jonathan Rivers, 38 years old, Senior Marketing Director at Northwestern Financial Services in Chicago. I've been married to Sarah for 12 years, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought we had the perfect marriage. She's 35, works as a pediatric nurse at Children's Memorial Hospital, and has always been the caring, devoted wife who worried about my frequent business trips. The first red flag came during our anniversary dinner last month. Sarah seemed distracted, constantly checking her phone and excusing herself for emergency calls from the hospital. When I suggested we take a vacation together, she immediately mentioned how my work schedule was too unpredictable, how I was never really present even when I was home. It felt rehearsed, like she'd been practicing this conversation. 2 weeks later, I noticed she'd been working extra shifts, staying late for inventory and training sessions that never seemed to end. Sarah, who used to complain about being exhausted after regular shifts, suddenly had energy for all these additional responsibilities. She started buying new clothes, expensive ones, and when I complimented her on a dress I'd never seen, she claimed it was old from before we met. The breaking point came when I overheard her talking to her sister Emma on the phone. "He's so predictable," she said, laughing. "Always the same routine, same trips, same everything. I just need him gone for a while so I can figure things out." When I walked into the room, she quickly ended the call and smiled at me like nothing had happened. That's when I started paying closest attention. Sarah had always been organised, but now she was secretive about her schedule. She'd leave early for work and come home late, claiming the hospital was understaffed. But when I called the main desk one evening to surprise her with dinner, they told me she'd left hours ago. When I confronted her, she said she'd stopped by the grocery store and lost track of time. The final confirmation came last Friday, when I found a business card in her coat pocket. Mitchell and Associates Family Law, with a handwritten note. Initial consultation scheduled for Tuesday, 2 p.m. My hands were shaking as I put the card back exactly where I found it. That night, Sarah curled up next to me and said, "I'm so lucky to have you, Jonathan. You work so hard for us." I held her close and realized I was lying next to a stranger. The woman I'd married, the one who used to fall asleep holding my hand, was planning to destroy our life while pretending everything was normal. The business trip to London was perfect timing. Sarah had been encouraging me to take it for weeks, saying it would be good for my career, and that she'd enjoy having the house to herself for a while. "You deserve this opportunity," she kept saying. "Don't worry about me. I'll keep busy with work." So I let her drive me to the airport this morning. I let her hug me goodbye and tell me how much she'd miss me. I even let her take a selfie of us for memory before I walked toward the departure gate. But instead of boarding the plane, I circled back through the baggage claim area and took a taxi to the Marriott downtown, 3 blocks from our house. From my 8th-floor room, I have a perfect view of our front door and driveway. I can see our bedroom window, the kitchen where we've shared thousands of meals, and the garden where Sarah used to grow tomatoes. Now, I'm watching it all like a movie, waiting to see what my wife really does when she thinks I'm 3,000 miles away. It's been 2 hours since Sarah dropped me off at the airport, and I'm already seeing sides of her I never knew existed. From my hotel window, I watched her pull into our driveway at exactly 11:30 a.m., which means she drove straight home instead of going to work like she told me she would. I ordered room service and set up my laptop on the desk facing the window. If I'm going to document the end of my marriage, I might as well do it properly. I created a new folder on my desktop called London Trip and started taking screenshots. At 12:15 p.m, I watched Sarah come out wearing the red dress I bought her for Valentine's Day 2 years ago. She spent 20 minutes in the garage, then came out carrying 2 large black garbage bags. She loaded them into her car and drove away. She was throwing away evidence of our life together. I called our house phone from my hotel room, letting it ring until the answering machine picked up. "Hi, you've reached Jonathan and Sarah Rivers." Her voice sounded so normal, so happy. I hung up without leaving a message. 20 minutes later, Sarah returned with her sister Emma. I could see them through our kitchen window, talking animatedly over coffee. Emma kept pointing toward our bedroom, and Sarah was nodding enthusiastically. They looked like they were planning something exciting, not discussing the destruction of a marriage. At 2 p.m. sharp, both women left the house together. I knew exactly where they were going. Mitchell and Associates Family Law, downtown Chicago. Sarah's initial consultation that she thought I didn't know about. While they were gone, I called our neighbour, Mrs. Peterson. She's lived next door for 15 years and has always been fond of both Sarah and me. "Jonathan, aren't you supposed to be in London?" she asked, genuinely confused. "I am in London, Mrs. Peterson," I lied smoothly. "But I'm worried about Sarah. She hasn't been answering her phone. Could you possibly check on her for me?" "Of course, dear. I saw her leave with Emma earlier, but I'll keep an eye out." "Don't mention that I called. I don't want her to worry that I'm being overprotective." Mrs. Peterson agreed, and I hung up feeling like I'd just recruited my first ally. At 4:30 p.m, Sarah and Emma returned, but they weren't alone. A man I'd never seen before got out of Emma's car and followed them into my house. He was tall, probably early 40s, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a briefcase. He moved like he belonged there, like he'd been in my house before. I grabbed my phone and zoomed in, taking photos of him from every angle. Professional looking, confident, comfortable. This wasn't some random stranger. This was someone who knew Sarah well enough to walk into our home without hesitation. They stayed inside for exactly 2 hours. At 6:30 p.m, the man left, but not before kissing Sarah goodbye on our front porch. Not a friendly peck on the cheek, but a real kiss. The kind of kiss I used to get when I came home from work. Emma left 30 minutes later, giving Sarah a long hug and what looked like an envelope before driving away. Sarah stood in our doorway, watching Emma's car disappear, and for a moment she looked genuinely sad. At 7 p.m, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Missing you already. Work is crazy busy tonight. Probably won't be home until after midnight. Hope your flight was smooth. Love you." I stared at that message for a long time. She was lying to me while sitting in our living room, probably planning how to spend the money from selling our house. I typed back, "Flight was perfect. Missing you too. Don't work too hard. I love you." Even as I sent it, I wondered if this was the last time I'd ever tell her I loved her and mean it. The next morning brought revelations I wasn't prepared for. I woke up at 6 a.m. in my hotel room, immediately checking my phone for messages from Sarah. Nothing. According to her story, she should be getting ready for another long shift at the hospital. I ordered coffee and positioned myself at the window just as Sarah's car pulled out of our driveway. She was dressed in scrubs, playing the part perfectly. But instead of heading toward Children's Memorial Hospital, she turned left on Maple Street, the opposite direction entirely. I quickly grabbed my rental car keys and followed her at a safe distance. Sarah drove to a coffee shop called Brood Awakening in Lincoln Park. I parked across the street and watched as she met the same man from yesterday. They embraced like old lovers, and he handed her a manila envelope before sitting at a corner table. Using my phone, I captured several clear photos of them together. The way she touched his hand, how she laughed, the way she kept looking around nervously. This wasn't a business meeting. This was a couple planning something together. After 40 minutes, they left together in his car, leaving Sarah's vehicle in the parking lot. I chose to search her car rather than follow them. Sarah always leaves her car unlocked in safe neighborhoods. I slipped into the passenger seat and quickly searched the interior. In the center console, I found a second cell phone I'd never seen before, a cheap prepaid phone with dozens of text messages between Sarah and someone saved as M. The messages went back 3 months. Can't wait to start our new life together, from 2 weeks ago. The house should sell quickly in this market, from last week. Jonathan is so clueless. He actually thanked me for encouraging the London trip from yesterday. I took photos of every message, my hands shaking. This wasn't a sudden decision. This was a calculated plan to destroy my life, while I was conveniently out of the country. The most devastating message was from 3 days ago. I've been thinking about this for over a year. I just needed the right opportunity and the right person to help me disappear. Back in my hotel room, I called my lawyer, Harrison Webb, who'd handled our house purchase. "Jonathan, how's London treating you?" Harrison asked cheerfully. "Actually, Harrison, I'm calling about a personal matter. Hypothetically, if someone wanted to protect their assets before a divorce, what would you advise?" I gave him a brief overview. Harrison listened without interrupting. "Jonathan, Illinois is an equitable distribution state. That works in your favor if you can prove deception. If she's planning to sell marital property without your consent, that's illegal. What should I do?" "Document everything. Every photo, every message, every suspicious activity. Don't let her know you're aware. If she thinks you're clueless, she'll continue making mistakes. I'm supposed to be in London for another week." "Then stay in London. Officially. Let her think her plan is working perfectly. The more evidence she creates while believing she's safe, the stronger your position becomes." After hanging up, I felt something I hadn't experienced since this nightmare began. Control. For the first time in weeks, I had a plan that didn't involve just reacting. That evening, I received another text from Sarah. "Another crazy day at work. Missing you so much. Can't wait for you to come home so we can plan our next adventure together." I stared at that message before responding, "Missing you too. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." It wasn't entirely a lie. The Sarah I fell in love with was the best thing that ever happened to me. But that Sarah might never have existed at all. Day 3 brought the breakthrough I'd been waiting for. I woke up to 17 missed calls from Sarah, all within a 2-hour window starting at 3 a.m. Chicago time. My heart raced as I checked the voicemails. "Jonathan, honey, I'm so sorry to wake you, but there's been an emergency with my mum. She fell and broke her hip. I might need to fly to Phoenix to help take care of her." The problem with Sarah's story was simple. Her mother died 4 years ago from complications after heart surgery. I was at the funeral. I gave one of the eulogies. This wasn't just deception anymore. This was something much worse. I immediately called Harrison back, despite the early hour. She's creating false emergencies to justify unusual behaviour, I told him. She's using her dead mother as an excuse to travel. Jonathan, this changes everything. She's not just planning a divorce. She's potentially planning to disappear entirely. Harrison connected me with a private investigator named Patricia Kovacs, who specialized in marital fraud cases. Within 2 hours, Patricia had identified the mysterious M. Mitchell Brennan, a real estate agent with a history of helping people relocate quickly and quietly. Your wife met Mitchell 3 months ago when she inquired about property values, Patricia explained. But their relationship became personal very quickly. He's done this before, Jonathan. 3 other women in the past 5 years, all married, all with assets worth liquidating. What's his pattern? He identifies unhappy wives with valuable properties, romances them, helps them plan an exit strategy that maximizes their financial gain while minimizing their husband's ability to fight back. I felt sick. How much money are we talking about? Your house is worth approximately $450,000. Your joint savings and other assets probably bring the total to around $600,000. Sarah's looking at walking away with $300,000. That afternoon, I made a decision that terrified me. I was going to search our house while Sarah was out. I entered through the back door and went to our home office. Sarah had changed some passwords, but she'd forgotten about the browser's saved password feature. Within 30 minutes, I discovered she had applied for a $200,000 line of credit against our house. She'd forged my signature on several documents. Next, I found what I was looking for in our bedroom: Sarah's jewellery box. Hidden in the bottom compartment was a second passport with a different middle name and a slightly altered birth date. Next to it was a plane ticket to Costa Rica, departing in 4 days. I photographed everything and put it back exactly as I found it. Among our mail was a letter addressed to Sarah from a law firm in San Jose, Costa Rica. The letter was in Spanish, but I recognized enough words: property purchase, investment opportunities, residency requirements. Sarah wasn't just planning to leave me. She was planning to leave the country entirely. I called Patricia immediately. She's fleeing to Costa Rica in 4 days, I told her. She has a second passport and she's been researching property investments there. That makes this a federal case. The FBI will be very interested. That evening, Sarah called me as I sat in my hotel room. "Honey, I have bad news about Mum's situation," she said, her voice perfectly worried. "It's worse than we thought. I might need to stay with her for several weeks, maybe even months." "Of course, sweetheart," I replied. "Family comes first. Do whatever you need to do." "You're so understanding. I love you so much, Jonathan." As I hung up, I realized I was listening to Sarah practice saying goodbye to me forever. In 4 days, she would be on a plane to Costa Rica with my money, but she had no idea that I would be waiting for her at the airport. The morning of Sarah's planned departure, I positioned myself in the airport's departure lounge 2 hours before her flight to Costa Rica. I wasn't alone. Patricia Kovacs sat 3 tables away, and 2 FBI agents were stationed near security. At 10:30 a.m., I watched Sarah enter with Mitchell Brennan. She was pulling a large suitcase, and Mitchell had a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. They looked like any other couple heading on vacation, except I knew that briefcase contained liquidated assets from multiple families. Sarah checked in using her fraudulent passport. Everything appeared to be in order as they proceeded towards security. This was the moment. I stood up and walked directly toward them. "Hello, Sarah." The colour drained from her face instantly. Mitchell stepped in front of her protectively. "Jonathan, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in London." "Funny thing about that," I said calmly. "I never went to London. I've been watching you for the past week, documenting everything. The coffee shop meetings, the second phone, the forged documents, the fake passport, and your touching concern for your mother who died 4 years ago." Sarah's eyes darted around frantically. "I don't know what you're talking about. We're just going on a short vacation." "To Costa Rica?" "With $250,000 in fraudulently obtained funds." Mitchell grabbed Sarah's arm. "We need to go. Now." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "you're not going anywhere." I showed them the screen displaying a group text I'd just sent. "They're here. Terminal B, Gate 12. Within 90 seconds, we were surrounded. Mitchell tried to run, but was tackled by federal agents. Sarah just stood there, staring at me with hatred and disbelief. "How long have you known?" she asked as they handcuffed her. "Long enough to protect myself and gather evidence of your fraud conspiracy." As they led her away, Sarah turned back. "I loved you once, Jonathan." "I really did." "No," I replied quietly. "You loved the security I provided. But you never loved me enough to just ask for a divorce instead of trying to destroy my life." The aftermath moved quickly. Mitchell and Sarah were charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. Mitchell's operation had defrauded 7 families over 5 years. Sarah received 3 years in federal prison. I recovered all stolen funds plus interest. The house never sold, and the fraudulent equity line was voided. More importantly, other families also recovered their losses. 6 months later, Mrs. Peterson knocked on my door. "Jonathan, I should have told you what I was seeing while you were supposedly in London." Sarah had men coming and going, acting like she owned the place. "You helped more than you know, Mrs. Peterson. What will you do now?" I looked around the house Sarah had tried to steal and realized something surprising. I was happy. "I'm going to live," I told her. "Travel to real places, meet honest people, and build a life with someone who actually wants to be in it." 3 months later, I received a letter from Sarah in prison asking for reconciliation. I read it once, then put it in the fireplace and watched it burn. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. Sarah had chosen to steal my life instead of ending our marriage honestly. I sold the house and bought a smaller place in Colorado near the mountains. The woman I'm dating now, Rebecca, knows the whole story. She's a divorce attorney who finds my surveillance skills amusing rather than disturbing. Maybe I learned that when someone you love starts lying, the only way to protect yourself is to become very good at discovering what they're hiding. Either way, I sleep well now, knowing the person next to me chose to be there honestly.